out here. Yeah, we are going to talk some Top Shot tonight. We had some requests to talk MMA DFS. While we're doing the housekeeping things, I should also mention part of all of our Lolz facelift here is I added a Lolz channel in the Deposit Kingdom Discord. The link to get into that is down in the show notes as well. Nice to have people chatting with us in there. And of course, we have the new Brian emoji here. Brian emoji is very good, and I hope you guys use it. OA, very much disagree with you on that one, but thank you for your positive feedback. You can work on branding your own shows how you see fit. So yes, join us in the Discords for lots of good fun in there. And Brian, you got we kind of had a marriage. You brought over some of the guys from your Discord. We're having a total party.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, right? Like the Lulz channel is probably better in your Discord than mine's more like for my app or eventually when it comes out, or just specifically DFS gambling questions or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. So all that good stuff, getting ready for a big Lulz summer here. And yeah, so you saw Mike MBL's thread, one of my Club Top Shot co-hosts. His thread went viral on Top Shot. I can pull it up here in a second, talking about rent seekers and some of the issues he sees right now with how Dapper is kind of manipulating or not manipulating the market. And it seemed like you had a little back and forth with him and some additional thoughts that you wanted to expand upon.
It's hard to be serious with this hat on. Yeah, the shirt I could be serious.
Do you know what's so funny? It's because, like, I will say, like, this logo is like fine. This looks like when someone makes like a shirts for a family reunion and they like put like Lolz 10-year reunion in like this italic font on the back. Like,
right? Yeah, like Big Dave. Your softball names.
Yeah, it does seem like Brian never takes that hat off.
He told me to put it on. I wasn't even wearing it.
Now, once Blender put it on your the thumbnail there, it's now part of you.
I didn't know he was going to do that. I'm like, son of a bee.
He got you.
He asked me to put it on too.
Everyone's just playing you like a prop.
What were we just talking about?
MBL's rent seeking thread.
Oh, right. Yeah. So first of all, I'm not trying to start shit. I do not want any drama. I don't care really. Anyways, I don't want to insult the guy. I'm not insulting the guy. So just for the record. But that was the dumbest thing I've ever read. No, I'm kidding. I almost didn't even bother commenting on it, but like rent seeking, like it kind of like was like a thorn in my side. I'm like, oh, you're gonna use rent seeking, huh? Because that's like, I don't know, just something I'm in. Drama seeking. Those aren't windows, bro.
Oh yeah, sorry. Anyways, yeah, no, go, because I think there were some jokes from people too about like, oh, I just Googled what rent seeker means, and it is like a very fun phrase to say, but it sounds like you might have more of a semantic well, no,
I don't. It's not semantics. I think it's definitional. The definition is, which he's not contradicting, by the way, but the definition is achieving what wealth or whatever through manipulating the government. This is how like everyone uses it. Like Ricardo started it, the economist from like the 1800s or whatever, and this is just, it's popular in libertarian circles. Like everyone or any economist, it's an economic term, or maybe like a public choice theory term or something like that, but mainly economics. It's like a very specific thing. And if you take the manipulation part out of it, it's meaningless. It's just, people just don't know that word or how it uses or how it's supposed to be used. It's not very popular. But like, let's say you did it with like extortion. So extortion is like acquiring money, generally money from someone through the use of force or threats. Well, if you take force and threats out of there, right, extortion would be really stupid to use, because we all know what extortion means.
Yeah.
So if you're not using force and threats, and you voluntarily exchange with somebody, and you look at that extortionist, you're going to look like an idiot. And so like everyone's, and then it kind of picked steam. And like I saw in your Discord, people were using rent seeking, and it was on Twitter. People are using calling these people rent seeking. I'm like, you look foolish. Like, I'm not trying to insult anyone, but you look ignorant. Like it literally is like saying extortion, but without the threat of force or coercion.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because part of the definition is, achieving wealth without providing anything of value or whatever is in there. It's all based off of this old economic theory of using the government. It's crony capitalism. So
what term do you think would be better to categorize the kind of people he's trying to describe?
Well, and so again, like I'm not trying to start anything. He says in there, this is my definition of rent seeking.
Yeah.
And so that's fine. Like that's his definition of rent seeking in this specific example. But like I said, like if it was just as popular as extortion, like it would just be like a ridiculous choice to call somebody rent seekers. Like you might get popular in the Top Shot community, whatever. So, all right, fine. Then that's what the term's going to be. Whatever. I don't care. But it has a specific meaning. Now the rest of his ideas, do you want to like describe? So let's just grant that this rent seeking, the way he describes it, is happening. Mm-hmm. What's the rest of his thesis? Do you want to like? So I want to give the charitable representation of his argument.
Yeah, I don't even know if I fully understand it. So I don't know if I should be like the one. So I think you should expand on what you think.
What I got out of it, and if I'm wrong, my mistake was that because the pack prices are so cheap in comparison to what the market was, that these people were just coming in, buying, flipping, getting free money, taking that out of the ecosystem and going home.
Yes.
And that was dropping the price of the market.
Right.
And so they're stealing essentially, or not necessarily stealing. So he wasn't going that far, but that's where he's calling that behavior rent seeking.
Yeah.
And there's no manipulation going on there. They're
playing within the rules of the game.
They're playing within the rules of the game. So it's not rent seeking. It's not extortion. You can't just make up definitions. You can, of course, and maybe they can get popular, but in the field of economics, that is not anything near rent seeking. Now, leaving that aside, is what he's saying, and I watched your guys' show. You talked about it for like 15 minutes or so. Is you guys granted what he said as this is what's happening, and his solution, it seemed like, was you have to somehow get the pack value to neutral to minus EV, slightly minus EV.
To disincentivize those type of behaviors.
Yeah. So I think that's completely wrong. So first of all, like, and the examples I gave online, just pick something popular or something established. And I use Tesla or Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And so like if they raffled off 100 Teslas for $10,000 a pop, how much would the person sell the Tesla for? Right? Whatever the going rate is, maybe a couple bucks off. Mm-hmm. Would that affect the price of Teslas worldwide? No. If someone had Bitcoins and they decided to sell them for $5,000 instead of 55, they're just giving money away. Mm-hmm. But the demand's there. It's a demand issue.
Right. And I think demand is especially germane because the entire infrastructure of Top Shot as a collectible is driven by scarcity.
Right. Oh, and I wanted to preface this. We're leaving Dapper out of this completely right now. Act like minting doesn't exist.
Okay.
And there's no bots. Forget about that stuff. We're just talking like simple economics here.
Okay.
So whatever the demand is what it would be. There just wasn't demand there. And here's another thing too, is the seller's mindset is irrelevant. Like, what do you care if the guy's just doesn't believe that NFTs are worth anything, doesn't want to be a true collector, yada, yada, yada. That doesn't mean anything. Why do you care? Like, if you want the Tesla, Why do you care that the guy hates Elon Musk and he's willing to sell it for less than what it's really worth?
Right. In the same way that when I look at stock traders or even crypto traders, like they don't have to believe in the fundamentals of every coin or thing. A lot of them are just looking at technical analysis and trying to buy low and sell higher to make a living. That's a pretty standardized way to profit in markets.
Right. Everyone's just acting in their rational self-interest here.
Mm-hmm.
And they all, like, just like value is subjective, they have different reasons for this. And you kind of said that. You pushed back a little bit on your show where you're like, well, actually, I'm a speculator too. I'm putting words in your mouth. I can't remember exactly what you said, but you're like, I'm not necessarily holding for 50 years or something like that. Yeah, if I'm misrepresenting you, correct me. But so, like, everyone has their different levels too. Like, we're not even sure what we're doing with our stuff. Like, we haven't really even we've bantered around a few ideas, but like, we're not entirely sure either. And we're kind of like top shot truthers, right?
Yeah.
But it's irrelevant to the buyer. Who cares what he just thinks the product is worth more than the dollars in his pocket for whatever reason. And the seller thinks your dollars are worth more than the product he currently possesses for whatever reason. It's irrelevant. So, like, motivations are irrelevant here. And also I think Top Shots is giving away money, and this happens all the time with startups. They run as losses, like
DFS overlay
for is Uber still in the red? Like, I don't even know what they're at, but like DraftKings was giving away money hand over fist when they started. This happened all the time. We shouldn't encourage them to stop doing that. We should, because if the true value is something much higher, that's fantastic. They're just giving it, you have a shot at free money, or you can, buy the product at whatever the market value is.
Actually, just to flesh out that analogy, because I don't know if this is directly analogous, but remember the best ball DraftKings fiasco from last year? Yeah. Where everyone was playing it, and then they gave away all those tickets for free, and then people were coming in. There was lots of auto drafts. A lot of super teams were created. A lot of people claiming the integrity of the contest was ruined based on all those free tickets that they gave out. I would say that kind of a similar type of situation a little bit.
Here's where the analogy kind of falls apart. What you're doing there is because you brought DraftKings into it, and then they gave away a whole bunch of supply, which mess with the market. So that's where you can actually talk, like if you're looking for blame, it could be Dapper and how many packs they're releasing and how quickly and whether they're marketing it properly and things like that. But all this is, in my opinion, and obviously I could be wrong about all this stuff, this is just price discovery, right? If you've ever seen a price discovery chart, no one knows how much this shit's worth, whether you really believe Top Shot is the greatest thing ever or not. No one knows. You might be right in the long run, but right now we're just in the price discovery phase. A very early product, super early, like not developed. It doesn't have like a standard price. Like for example, like, I don't know, like if someone's selling a stolen electronic item outside Best Buy that for cheap, that has no effect on TVs that have been around for 100 years. You know what I mean? We know how much a TV is worth. Everyone knows what a TV is worth. And just because you get it for a little cheaper, it doesn't mean anything. You see what I'm saying? Like, none of these have effects on the price, like kind of the way he's describing it. They're not doing anything wrong, because if they were TVs, then they'd be selling for whatever, $2,000 a pop. If there was like a single price for a TV, it's easier to use Tesla or Bitcoin or something like that. Like, there's like a wait line for Tesla, right? Like, the thousands of people are waiting to get this. You would be an idiot to sell it for cheaper. If anything, they're benefiting you because you have opportunity to buy this product at a cheaper price than it should be.
Yeah. So I guess then my question, like, I agree with those takes in a vacuum, but I just don't know, how can you completely separate Dapper from the situation? Because if you want to use like a hyperbolic statement, let's say they do a drop with 1 million moments, tomorrow, just like completely flooding the market with things. Maybe it's kind of like with the Genesis stuff, and they're going to put out all these one-of-one moments that like tank the initial cosmic moments because people are now funneling to something that's more scarce. So to what end is Dapper responsible for manipulating the market in one way or another?
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to bring Dapper into it. Just because to give the just kind of, Econ 101, Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson. Great book. If anyone wants to read a quick economics book. Once you bring Dapper in and like bots and stuff like that, yeah, that can manipulate markets. Who knows in what ways, especially if Dapper, I mean, we've talked about this offline. Peter was like, well, what if they do a 5 out of 5 and then our cosmics tank, right? Like that, they can definitely affect it. But someone, a rent seeker, in this term, the way we're using it in Top Shot here, is the opposite of a rent seeker. They're not manipulating anybody. Mm-hmm. And if anything, if the value is there, then they're giving you money. Dapper's giving you money. These are all good things. But of course, people are buying through rational self-interest at lower prices. But yeah, if Dapper gets involved and they start dropping packs every day, they're not doing these limited editions anymore, right?
Yeah.
This is what I said on Blender's podcast. I think we were on air when we were talking about like with Topps, the Topps NFTs. It's like, this is the company that is notorious for printing millions of cards and ruining the baseball card industry in the 80s. And we're going to put in 70 grand into a Mike Trout NFT. I don't know. And Dapper could do the same thing. I mean, that is a risk. This is what we all know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fine with all this stuff. I'm not trying to start anything, but like, it's like the opposite of rent seeking. It's like, it's a good thing if the price is less than what the actual price will be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
it's just volatile price discovery. We are in a very early phase of a completely new industry and no one knows the fucking price and we're all guessing.
Right. But to Shooter's point here too, like when you use the Bitcoin example, the rules of Bitcoin are established. Like we know the rules, we know the half-lives, we know how it works, how many total there will ever be. This is a moving target here. Like you said, with the centralized aspect, it adds a whole other wrinkle to the game because not only is there natural price discovery, but there's, trying to guess where the goalposts are going to inevitably be.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. They could, I mean, not your key, not your coin, bro.
Yeah.
Right?
Not your, yeah.
Did I say that right? Like they actually have our, all of my cards in their possession. They could just take them or delete them too. Like there's so many things they can do, but like they're a pretty big company. They're associated with the NBA. I don't think JP Morgan Chase or whatever is going to steal my money. Actually, who knows? They might. They could have. Like, gambling's bad now. Take money. I bet they've taken poker players' money over the years. But
so here's a question. So here's a question for you. And I know now this is obviously bringing Dapper into it, but I'm curious through the economics prism. So now with these pack drops, like they're having one tomorrow, it's a rare pack and there are requirements for it. You have to have, spend, I believe, at least $99. You have to have either 15 moments, one rare or 2 rares or 1 legendary. What do you think that the arm of Dapper here is overreaching, trying to course correct some of that behavior? In your opinion, should it be a free-for-all, save for let's throw bots out of the conversation, right, but anyone who wants to be in the mix otherwise? Yeah.
And first of all, I was already talking out of school. I'm not like an economics major and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, not financial advice. But this would probably be more in your domain. I think like marketing for me, I think it is bad. Like I think we should get as much hype around it as possible. As many people interested in it as possible. That's what I would do.
Yeah. That was what I was kind of pushing back to Mike's thread last night. In my opinion is like, not all of these behaviors are created equal. Like I don't think every extractor is always an extractor. I think they start to have fun on the platform. They start to think about other areas on the platform where they could maybe make money. Like you look, and what I was saying is like there's all this content of like when to buy on these challenges, you know, what things are undervalued. Like, why can't this be an evolved thing? The pack is just the easy, logical thing to get in. Now it's worth more. Now I'm going to look for other opportunities within the market. Isn't that what we want? Are people getting their feet wet and then getting more involved to participate throughout the marketplace?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And if the demand is there, then the price shouldn't have reflect a significant drop.
Yeah.
I mean, and another thing with Dapper too, the withdrawals, right? No one could withdraw, so they were probably sticking in the market longer.
And that is another good point too, because people being able to freely move their money in and out would also greatly change market dynamics. I think you could even argue in a positive. I've heard a lot of people who are being much more willing to make purchases, move in and out of positions if they felt like they had the, what's the word, like the flexibility to move quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I would assume that affected the market prices as well. But just like the overall idea, I mean, like I don't even like extractor. It's just buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Like, like when you were a kid or something and you traded like this shitty baseball card to your neighbor or something. And you're like, I got one over on him. Like he might've been thinking, I got one over on you. You know what I mean? Like these are just people valuing things differently.
Yeah.
There's nothing, I don't see any crime here. Like it, obviously not a crime, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm being hyperbolic, but like, yeah, our accounts have gone down significantly. It sucks.
Yeah.
I wish they would go the other way, which is entirely possible too. But they're not I mean, I guess definitely by definition they are extracting money because they're just taking they're making money from this pool of.
And the other thing too is like about this is what, to your point about markets deciding the true price, we have collectively as investors in Cosmics, or let's say Series 1 base moments, we have collectively decided that those are what are valuable. That's what we think the market will ultimately view as the most valuable thing. We know we're playing a little bit of a game of chicken. We know we could be wrong. We know other dynamics could change that, but that's our thesis enough to where we felt comfortable putting in that kind of money. And I think I'm losing my train of thought on this. I forget what I've tried to say, but the point was, maybe help me finish here.
Yeah, well, it made me think of another example. Maybe look at was with like LeBron James. Like how much did the auction go? Whatever, 380 something thousand,
300 something. Yeah.
So like, okay, let's say someone pulls a LeBron and they sell it for 10 grand.
Yeah,
they're just stupid. Right? Like clearly we know that that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not going to drop the LeBron auction price. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a little more established, people have a little more confidence in it. 400 grand, the WebStar says. So like, you know what I'm saying? So like, okay. So like, whatever, a Sam Merrill now is less than it was a couple months ago, but maybe it should be.
Right. So this was the point I was trying to make. Our investment thesis was like, this is the way to play Top Shot. This is the way to be in the mix because it's fun and also make a smart investment. The people that come in that just want to flip packs, they're saying, I don't actually value, what you value, or I don't think that that's going to have long-term value, or maybe I don't have the money to invest in that. I know that I think there's value right now in flipping these packs. And so like, I think what you're kind of saying is like those dynamics are okay. We're placing bets on a specific part of the Top Shot ecosystem. Those guys place bets on another part. And it's like, let's let it play out and see who's going to win long term. And yet it's then the wild card is how Dapper, manipulates things or lets things unfold more naturally.
I think, simplify it. What's Dapper going to do? And how's this price discovery going to end up looking? Who knows? And who knows? I wish I knew. I mean, they seem like this could be a really good company that takes off.
Yeah,
and they don't screw the original investors. But
and that's the thing too. I was talking in the Discord last night with some people. Like to me, like when I pull back here, like This is the epitome of like a watch pot doesn't boil. I mean, we are literally staring at this like every single day, and we're poking it, and we're, dissecting why everything is not going great. But when you look at just the pure fundamentals, I mean, they just came out with a $7.5 billion valuation. Every VC in America is tripping over themselves to invest in Dapper Labs. They're announcing all of these other partnerships with sports, collectibles, various brands. Like, everything on paper, if you just read it, you would walk away extremely, extremely bullish on Top Shot in the larger Dapper ecosystem. But yet here we are in the middle of it. And I think the price for being early is dealing with these hiccups.
But also for us specifically, to be selfish here, and MLB, or MBL, what is it? I'm sorry.
Yes.
MBL,
Dyslexic
sorry.
MLB
Is they could still be a super profitable company and screw the original people who have cosmics and stuff. Like I said,
True.
they do the five man Jordans, 5 Max Jordans, and now that's the premier card, and then ours are less value. There's a bunch of different ways. Or maybe, printing 100,000 cards doesn't ruin everything, but it lowers the original ones down 30% or something, but they make more money overall.
Yeah.
It's like DK does the same stuff, right? Like when they price their tournaments, they raise the minimums and then make the first place 100K, even though it should probably be like 50K or less, because they get more entrants that way. And it's bad for you, because it's more volatility and you have to have a bigger bankroll and stuff like that. But they think they're going to draw in more customers, and it's like a cat and mouse game that they're going to have to play. And we're just customers. We're not rent seekers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the influencers are. The influencers might be rent seekers. Who knows what they're getting behind the scenes? Am I right, people? But
well, and the other thing too is, we've been viewing things through a market lens, which you should, but like, I think it's also interesting to view things through an NFT lens and a collectible lens. And you look at some of the projects, and I've read like what a lot of the top NFT collectors say, the Pranksy and the Whale Vault, and like their investment thesis in these things. And the things they're looking for is scarcity. They're looking for Genesis things, the first things, and they're looking for narratives. And a lot of times that Genesis and the narrative are kind of tied together. And then they're making bets that like, hey, in 5 years, you're all going to circle back and realize that CryptoPunks have this incredibly compelling narrative, and that is going to then become valuable. And I think the same thing is kind of the bet we're trying to make in Top Shot, is like Top Shot's going to do a lot of this stuff. But we think the Genesis narrative of a cosmic moment or a Series 1 base moment that has the debut badge, or an incredible narrative like my Vince Carter, final, shot, that those are going to withstand the test of time. So there is a little bit of a granular aspect too, of like where you are placing your belief of what is going to withstand the test of time. And then those people that are coming in just flipping packs, they're not even thinking in that regard. They're thinking short. They're playing a different game entirely. And I think what you're saying is like these games can play out simultaneously, and that's good and healthy for a market.
Right. Yeah. It might not be good and healthy for us specifically.
Yeah.
But yeah, the true market price, like who knows what it is, especially now. And this is just typical behavior. I mean, that no one's doing anything like wrong by buying those cheaper cards or selling them for cheap, or it shouldn't matter if the demand is there.
Yeah.
The demand just wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing that kind of fuels all of this, I saw someone in the chat earlier saying one of the problems is like Dapper is listening too much, that they're so reactive because, they're constantly, but I scroll through my feed all the time. There's, people who are mad about, the restrictions, people who want more restrictions. Like everyone is acting in their own self-interest, right? Like if you can get the pack, you're glad to shut out as many other people as possible. And vice versa, if you can't get the pack, it's the dumbest thing ever. And I do feel like that's an interesting thing that they're trying to deal with, is there are all these people interacting with the product in so many different ways that decisions that's going to serve the long-term collector are going to be way different for decisions that are going to serve the just like casual pack opener.
They have a lot more data too. So like maybe what you're saying, they could track and check. Like you did this on your show too. You said, I think it was you said, like, well, there's guys who get in it and then they get more interested. So like,
well, that was me.
That was you, right?
Yeah.
So there's not a lot, and that's for sure true. Like even like all of us kind of did that. I look ridiculous in this fucking hat, but you never know like what the customer doesn't even know if they're going to become a long-term collector or not. So like, but they'll be able to track it. Like, okay, when we have 300,000 people, we gain this amount of users long-term, and they'll be able to figure it out and dial it in, especially, you know, with this type of data that they can gather a ton of data. So like just saying that like any, you know, the bigger market people are buying and then instantly selling might not be totally accurate. You might get more like, okay, how about this? Like someone who's not interested in this is very unlikely to like go to the marketplace and then like deal and then deposit on Dapper, then buy a card, as they are a $9 pack that everyone's telling them is worth $1,000 or something.
Yeah.
Right. That they will get interested in. The marketplace, they probably won't get interested in if they're not even checking that marketplace out. Like, who wants to lose customers? That doesn't make any sense. And from a buyer's perspective, like, why wouldn't we want Dapper to give us a shot at all the EV possible? Right. And I think he would say like, well, that's because long-term it hurts us more. I just completely disagree. That's not what's going on here. It's just buyers and sellers during an early stage price discovery.
Yeah. And I think that's also an interesting point too. If we talk about like none of these things is inherently, you know, bad or good, it could just be like right now, one of the killer apps, I don't know, like value add of Top Shot is the pack experience. It's a fun sweat. It's fun to open them. It's fun to know that it's worth money. It could just be as easy as like, it's a marketing challenge for Dapper. How do they make the marketplace more cool? How do they make, you know, collecting a specific set? Obviously they have challenges. That's stuff that they're trying to do, although that still also kind of hinges upon the pack experience. But I maybe if I were to think about it longer, but I think there's probably ways that you can make, you know, buying in the marketplace and collecting a more fun, cool thing. Whereas right now, everything, like I got a text from my friend DJ today too. And he's like, how do I get one of these packs? I want to get my feet wet. I want the pack. Like, and I was telling him like, now's a really good time to buy in the marketplace. A lot of these Series 1 moments are like around the same price as when I got in January, but people's mindset with Top Shot is packs.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that might be something. How do they convert them over more frequently? I would never get rid of a customer personally, but you know what? I don't run an $8 billion company. I wouldn't know, you know, I wouldn't ask me, but like, but I'd have the same thing. My buddies actually, I think you could probably hear the dings going on in my background. I'm not sure how to turn it off. They're talking about that backdrop tomorrow. And these guys don't give a shit. They got, cause I told them like, hey, check this out. You know?
Yeah.
Even if you don't like it, you probably make a few bucks.
Yeah.
And it's not even guaranteed. You could get 3-5 shit cards. Like,
yeah. Well, some of these like
pretty much guaranteed.
Well, yeah, and especially with these rares, because there's so many moments in there. And those legendary packs, not only did you get the holo, but you got the 2 MGLEs in there. Like, it is really hard for those packs, even just selling at low ask, not to be a profitable experience. What do you think? You know, one common thing is, you know, raise the pack prices, because are you a fan of that, in that the market's still going to decide, right? Like, that's another way the market's going to decide, hey, X amount of people are still going to go for these. Or do you think that's a level of manipulation there too?
If Tesla wants to give away all their cars and put them on the used car market, fine with me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's essentially what it is. Like, or raffle off their cars for 1/10 the price. Not all of them, obviously, but because it's not, I mean, is it all? I guess it is all the releases are in the drop, but like, you have so many moments in the marketplace already. It's not like there's a semi-established price point. Right. And the more established that price gets, the more that this stuff won't matter. Yeah. It'll just be free money for us.
I think they're getting I think this concept of the rebound packs that people are talking about too I think it's really sharp. because it's just a lot of people are like, I've been trying to get packs for 2 weeks. I haven't got one. I'm about done with Top Shot. And Top Shot's like, here you go. Here, you are eligible for it.
Right.
You want to spend money on a pack that probably isn't going to be worth that much money, but you want to open a pack and get one. Here you go. Right. And I kind of like that idea of start raising the price for these rares so there's not 100,000 people lining up. Yeah. But continue to give people, the engaged people, those consolation prizes. So, I mean, to give them some credit, I do feel like these measures that they're adding are kind of having their cake and eat it too. Not turning away collectors while not just like nuking the entire system.
Right. Like, don't we want it to be as popular as possible? Like, I'd much rather have 300,000 people waiting than 10,000. Like, especially for the high priced items ones, like that's a small pool that we're going to be selling to eventually.
I just thought of an idea. What if instead of a rebound pack, what if it was like literally a Dapper, like clearance sale coupon, 15% off a buy in the marketplace that Dapper fronts the cost for. So now I miss out on my pack. There's a Series 1 Steph Curry base moment I've been eyeing. It's $900, but they're going to give me 20% off of that. I can go get $180 off on that moment and engage with the marketplace.
I love it.
Someone said I was angling for the head of marketing for Dapper. There you go. There's another one. To me,
that sounds like rent seeking.
But I'm just thinking, how do you incentivize people of like, we just don't want packs, incentivize people to go to the marketplace?
No, yeah. I think that's sharp. Yep. You want to get them in there buying and selling. And that would add more buyers from the sell side. Right. It could be, and it's just more free money for us.
Right. And I mean, the amount of money they're making, the amount they're making on these transactions, like it's a rounding error for them to give some of those discount coupons.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Something, and maybe go hardcore for the first one, like 50% off for whatever, a couple hours. The whole site would break, obviously, but like, yeah, 50% off is too far. And you can't do like 50% off on the Cosmics. Or
that's what they're saying. I mean, I assume, again, Dapper would probably take a hit on some of these to get those transactions flying. Again, just from a pure marketing perspective, obviously there would need to be a cap on it, but I'm telling you, it's not the worst idea.
If they did this, let's be selfish for a second here. Do we start listing?
So, if like the market was coming in and now it was popping because everyone had their
let's say they do 25% off all marketplaces tomorrow from 1 to 6. We go, well, let's go a little crazy here? And
yeah, I mean, it's hard to say right now because I think I actually haven't even checked our Cosmic low floors in a while. Have you?
I haven't looked in a couple weeks.
Like, what's our Jokic?
I don't know. I didn't look. You want to look?
Neither of us have looked. Let's look because I'm actually curious. My internet's been a little sketchy, so will you pull it up?
You want me to do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that might be me actually with the internet issue.
I think it's still like this StreamYard issue. I blame. Yeah. So I guess the point I was going to make is depending on that is even if the market would have to rebound, I think a lot for us to start thinking about being a seller. But I mean, we've talked about this Jokic that we have, and it appears he's going to get MVP. Although I'm starting to hear some chatter that maybe he won't, or people are pretty excited about Steph after some of his recent performances.
Yeah, but I think the odds just went up for Jokic.
Yeah,
I think he's like minus 400 now.
Please.
Ours went up.
Don't even start with me on this, please.
Oh, it went way up. Oh, you know why? It's because mine Pat's card.
What, the Tatum?
Yeah. So what am I doing here?
Just see what the low ask on the Jokic Cosmic is.
55.
Okay, so that's honestly not even.
Do you want me to share this with you or no?
I believe you.
Okay. Tatum's lowest ask. Take a guess.
Well, you said it went up a ton. What did you guys buy it for?
Too much. 40,000.
I don't know. I'll say the low ask is 55.
200.
What?
Chris Paul, low ask. Take a guess.
40.
59,999.
How? What's the deal with the Tatum? Just no one's selling?
It's someone just being cute, probably. Yeah, I guess he might be the only one. Guess he's the only one out there.
Wow. There you go.
We should list ours for 199,999. Undercut on the dollar. Ja Morant not looking too hot.
Dude, the Ja Morant, I looked at that, his series 1 base moment, that dunk. I mean, it's down to 2,500. And it's interesting to see which one of those series 1s, like some of them are holding value pretty well, but that Ja has been tanking.
Yeah, I know. My Chris Bosh play, not my sharpest gamble of all time.
Yeah,
although I have the 2, so it's kind of hard to compare the bottom to the 2, but
yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know. So let's put a little bit of a bow on the Top Shot conversation, just because I think we want to talk a little MMA to wrap things up here. But
yeah. And no offense to MBL.
He doesn't take offense. He's been replying and engaging with everyone on that. I don't think he's coming from a position of my take is infallible. I think he wanted to get this idea out there and see what people thought.
Well, he did DM me. He called me a beta cuck. So.
Well, that part is true.
And I was like, who told you?
Yeah.
All right. What are we talking about?
So we had a question in the Discord. We do have a big MMA card coming up. Someone in the chat was referencing you. We always talk about MMA being our favorite sweat. I don't know if he was putting words in your mouth, but you said something perhaps about MMA still being one of the more profitable, like, edge sports for DFS. Does that sound right?
Yeah. I mean, this is when we were talking about the Pete's Bankroll Challenge idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty tough. I was probably a little exaggerating. If you're smart and talented, don't play. If you're a big dummy, I welcome you.
You want so no rent seekers coming to scoop your MMA?
No, anyone who beats me is a goddamn rent seeker. I'll tell MMA, I think you could still make some cash on it. Pete's already given away all the goods, so I'll just repeat it. What
are the goods that I've given away?
Well, no one knew what a dupe was until you popularized
yeah.
Under "Don't Dupe Me, Bro." But yeah, that is probably one of the biggest edges there in MMA, is just figuring out how not to get duped. Yeah. Simple as that. Like, you could copy the content from whatever decent content provider and just try to figure out how to not get duped. And you're looking all right. That's for the bigger GPPs. For the smaller ones, you're not gonna want to go too crazy, because there's gonna be and that's part of it too. You have to figure out where your breaking points are, depending on what you're playing in, what size of GPP you're playing in.
So I think in general, right, why people don't think about dupes or don't think about being unique enough is because they get uneasy feeling how many underdogs or how many long shots they're putting in their lineup. They look at it and they're like, oh man, what are the odds that X actually hits? As opposed to thinking, what's my payoff if this hits? So I guess my question would be, and I know this is always a moving target, but like, what kind of slate sample size do you need to realize your expected value if you are getting it in good slate after slate?
Realize. That question's like almost impossible to answer, because the game changes all the time.
Yeah.
And more people like learn how to play it better. And so, like, year after year, MMA is a little different because it's all like year long basically. But like the next baseball season, you might be the loser when you were a winner the one before. And so you like just kind of constantly have to update. But like, I will say this, like, if you aren't uncomfortable in the end, like in the NBA, if you're uncomfortable, you might want to switch some of those guys. In the MMA, this is just a simple rule of thumb, gut ball here. In MMA, if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not doing it right. Yeah. Like some of my lineups, I'm like, this has no fucking chance. And then the guy who's 9% owned scores 120 points, somehow destroys this guy who was a heavy favorite. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I have a chance to win. So like last week, I if Gossman wins, I win.
Yeah. And I think, just for people who aren't as familiar with MMA, there's just way more volatility in the outcomes. You're literally one punch away from it's similar in football, like a touchdown is a very volatile thing that it's hard to predict. We can predict usage, but actually scoring touchdowns plays on a lot of randomness. Whereas in NBA, in highly iterative sports where there's lots of samples within the game, there's less randomness, and why the DFS points fall on more of a similar range for NBA players. So when the volatility actually, you should be willing to embrace the volatility way more in those types of sports than the others.
And if Steph Curry makes a 3, you don't take 3 points away from Tatum. You know what I mean? So like if your guy beats the shit out of the other guy, the other guy's out. Like he's not in the winning lineup. You have to win basically. There are some crazy outcomes sometimes, but yeah. So like it's bigger than the touchdown in NFL, like
because it's more anti-fragile. It's like not only are you benefiting in a big way, but your opponent is not benefiting in a big way.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you crunched it? I haven't looked at any of this stuff. Have you run any of your numbers or anything?
You want to guess at? You're not a huge MMA guy, so it might be a waste of time. A guess at that line though, the sports book.
I'm so out of MMA that when I see Usman, I think about the Top Shot community leader who just stepped down for Top Shot. That's the Usman I know.
Oh, he stepped down, huh? A little higher than I would have guessed, and I am a MMA expert. I don't know if you saw that. I bet Jake Paul over the weekend.
Congratulations.
I am that confirms me as an MMA thought leader, I think. Usman is minus 425.
425.
Yeah.
Wow.
The over under is for rounds is 4.5 rounds, minus 185 over.
Minus 185. Okay.
Yeah, like 60% of the time they're expecting it to go the distance.
Okay. And then Masvidal to lose by decision is the most likely outcome.
Yeah, I didn't look at the props. Just yet, but I'm assuming that's on there. Yeah, so huge favorite. That Usman guy is scary.
Yeah.
All these guys are scary, but man, that guy looks like he could beat some ass.
Yeah. Well, and that's another consideration too, because I notice a lot of times in my MMA lineups, I like to play contrarian. Sometimes I realize I'm playing too contrarian and that I don't often have the title fight in there, even though you're getting those 2 extra rounds, which allow for so many more points. And yet the ownership is generally reflected. And I would say those title fights are what put my MMA DFS GPP bro brain in a knot more than anything.
I think now, I guess the cat will be out of the bag here. I think people were calculating the new scoring changes incorrectly when I was comparing things to like my numbers.
Has that adjusted now that that's been out?
I think people are starting to get it, and it also affects ownership too. Because if you're basing your ownership on historical data, which I do, and everyone else probably does too, it would favor strikers, so that like kind of has to even out. Because grapplers they probably tweaked it just a touch too much towards grappling. And so if you get a 5-round grappler, oh my God, like they'll rack up a ton of points. So the last, I don't know, since the changes, essentially, I get like almost a minimum of 95% of the championship fighters now or more. Wow. I might have had one that was like 92%, but almost everyone has one of those guys in there.
Wow. Look at you just giving it away. You're giving it away all for free.
You ruined the edge already, long ago.
How have you been max entering most stuff for MMA? Are you in everything?
No, I max enter the 150, and then sometimes they have an extra 150, the 20s. I don't do like the single entry stuff because I'm trying to not do right. So my lamps wouldn't fit in there, and I don't. It's like $1,000 to first. Obviously, I would like $1,000 to first, but like it's a lot of extra work to like get in all those single entries and stuff, and I just don't do it.
You're playing on like super draft and stuff too, right? So it's a
I
lot.
didn't do their MMA last week, I don't think, because the prize pool was pretty small. But since this one's a championship, it's probably a little bigger. Yeah, they got a cool structure. They got the captain with multiplier.
Yeah, there you go. Brian is he's a rent seeker who won't get out of bed for a prize pool that's not more than $1,000 up top.
You got a super chat there, guy.
I know, Shooter. He wants me to play Jorge.
Oh, okay. You know, like I would this is what we're talking about feeling uncomfortable in MMA.
Yeah.
Like I would not want to play a single Masvidal, but I guarantee after I'm done running everything, I'm gonna have to just feel uncomfortable and have whatever 30% Masvidal. I mean, I don't know. I would guess with these odds, he's kind of a big name. How many 5-rounders are there in here? Oh, there's more
Three.
than one. There's 3. Okay.
I thought they said 3. So that should actually help the GPP streets a lot.
That will change things. Yes. I didn't know that. So Shevchenko is minus 425 as well. And Zhang. So there are 2 female fighters in the championship, and then the Usman one. Okay. Yeah. And women's fighters get like about 2% less on average ownership. So it'll be interesting that they're championship fights, but women.
Yeah.
Because all you people are sexist.
Is the lady who's fighting the Chinese lady, is she the one from that Joanna epic fight from last January?
You know, my MMA knowledge goes back about 8 months from when we first started. Did we watch that one?
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I don't think, did we?
Yeah, no, it is. It's Wei Li Zhang. That was from the that was the epic one against Joanna.
Oh, right, Joanna. She's coming back too, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I missed that. I'm not too much in the streets for the news, but I just recognized the Wei Li from that fight was absolutely epic.
Yeah. She's minus 205.
Okay.
So they think it's more likely that the Masvidal Usman will go 5 rounds than the 2 women's fights, championship fights, which is surprising because they usually do go 5 rounds. They usually do go 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, just from an ownership perspective, and I guess you got to knock on wood with how often these fights get scratched leading up to it. But just having those 3 title fights from an ownership perspective should spread things out more.
That's what I was just thinking. So like I was going to say Masvidal will probably be like 30% owned, but now that there's 2 other championship fights, how many fights we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 13. He'll probably be 20. We'll see.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Are you talking about my guy Mike, Top Shot takes? Are they rolling right now? Brian and I have been rolling Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. since before Mike Zakarian was even born. So
wow, he's doing that to us.
Yeah, Mr. Top Shot takes over there. No, there's lots of streams going on now too. Pat has hopped on the Underdog stream with Hayden and them. There's all kinds of this stuff too. We were for even Club Top Shot. People were like, there's streams. And it's like, guys, there's a million fucking shows these days. Like, there's only so many nights in the week. There's gonna be overlap. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and you put it on a podcast too, and like they could come back and listen to it later. And
yes,
or listen to it on their phone.
We won't be offended. We won't be. I mean, I will, but just for the record, I'll say I'm not.
I am unfollowing Mike right as we speak. But other than that,
there's the plan, Ryan. There's the plan. Yeah. So, excited to get in the MMA streets here. I don't know. Maybe if people are feeling up for it, maybe I create a little DK league on Lolz, in the Lolz channel. Maybe just a little 20-man, 30-man MMA contest. We could all hop in. Could be fun.
I do it. I still want. I know you're super busy, so we don't have to do this. No pressure, but it still would be fun to do a live stream commentary, MMA or something.
Yeah,
bring some guys on, drink some beers, make a league, do some gambling. Matt says in my chat, Masvidal is only 6,800 this week. He's going to be the highest owned. LOL. I don't know, Matt. I don't think so. I'm guessing 20, 25. Minus 425 is a pretty big favorite.
Does Brian use projections? From what I know, he kind of just shoots from the hip. He kind of looks at the slate and he just lets his gut, just kind of take over. Right, Brian? Yes, Brian. He uses projections. He makes the projections. He's a slave to the numbers.
Yeah, I try to be within reason.
Yeah. Brian is the projection. This is like the Bryan Cranston. I am the one who knocks.
I am the sim.
All right, guys. We appreciate you hanging out tonight, talking Top Shot, talking MMA. Like I said, we got fun housekeeping stuff. We got the Lolz Discord channel in the Deposit Kingdom Discord. That link is down below. We have new merch. This logo you see up here, you can now get that on a shirt. You can get it on long sleeves. You can get it on notebooks, magnets. Get your gear. So Brian and I don't have to wear Vegas Dave gear anymore. We got our podcast. We updated the artwork. I mean, any other housekeeping stuff I'm forgetting, Brian?
No, I think that's everything. I'll have pod up whatever in like an hour.
Yeah.
Please.
All right, guys.
Like and subscribe.
Be good to each other, and whatever you do, don't be a fucking rent seeker.